Hey guys, welcome to Mindful of Madness, episode 19, with me, your host, Andrew Ingram, and my very funny friend, comedian, Ceasar Gonzalez. This is a fun episode, guys. We talk about a bunch of stuff. We talk about, trying to relay our comedy talents into, other aspects of creativity in these weird times we find ourselves in. And I think you're really going to enjoy it. You know what? It's been a long day, so I think that's all I have to say about that. Check out mindfulofmadness.com for my writing. Check out Ceasar on all the social media platforms. He's a good guy. He's very funny. He's very good at Facebook and Twitter jokes, so look him up. He's the best. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And that's it. Please enjoy this episode with Ceasar Gonzalez. Hey everybody, it's Mindful of Madness. It's me, Andrew, from the intro. Hi again. And with me this week is a good buddy of mine who, like everyone else on the show, I haven't been able to see as much as I would like because of the times we live in. It's comedian Ceasar Gonzalez. What's up, buddy?
Hi, hey, you/everybody. How many people do you introduce as a good buddy? I bet people listen to the podcast are like, oh, it's the good buddy.
Good buddy. Well, so I haven't had more than one or two people on that I'm not already at least decent friends with.
Yeah.
There are a couple people I would say are casual acquaintances, but otherwise is people I know pretty well, so that helps. It's cheating, but
so yeah, it's not a special designation.
No,
good buddy. It's like I'm a private essentially.
Right.
Cool.
I mean, I don't have people on the show that I don't like, so that's a good tip. Don't interview people you fucking hate.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but then I guess if you're a journalist, you have to interview people that you hate, right?
Yeah, I mean, I when I was a journalist, I interviewed people I didn't like all the time, but I also mostly interviewed strangers.
Yeah.
So it might have been like a surface level, this person's annoying, or like they're real aggressive and I wish they'd calm down. But mostly I just interviewed people I didn't know, so that's easy to do, and it's easy to have a conversation with a friend.
Mm-hmm. Good buddy.
So, good buddy. A good buddy. I say buddy too much, probably. Whatever.
Too much for not having a child. That's that's a dad thing to say.
A lot of what I say comes from my dad, so that's probably where it comes from.
Yeah.
Good Christian people who don't swear. And so I say all of those things and then say fuck a lot too. But how have things been?
Just fun. I feel like I'm unstuck in time,
Yeah.
in the middle of coronavirus stuff.
Yeah.
Not to date it, but I guess this could be any time in a 9-month period. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah. So Ceasar was actually my first guest on the show when I was just testing out kind of what this would be. And then I lost that audio, so he's finally back on. Yeah. And I remember that was because you said something on that recording that it was about a week into the first initial shutdown in March, and you were like, yeah, in a couple weeks, and I'm like, I don't know, a couple weeks, we'll see. And I just want to point out I was right.
Listen, first of all, hold on, you can't say you were right when you lost the recording. For all we know, I was like, listen, this is going to be going on until at least 2021. Joe Biden's going to win the presidency. Fiona Apple's gonna have album of the year. I had all sorts of predictions, but we'll never know now.
Wait, did I didn't even know she put out an album this year.
She did. It was very good.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
She didn't win album of the year.
Wait, did she win?
No. Just...
Yeah. Fiona Apple's great.
She's very cool.
Yeah. She's a good singer. Yeah, do you sing at all?
No, I am a truly like world-class terrible singer.
Me too.
I am so bad.
I did find out kind of on accident on stage doing jokes one time. Like, I think I riffed something about pop punk and then, like, just feeling way more confidence than I had earned. Like, ripped a like, shitty Blink-182 line or something. Yeah. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was like, wow, if I liked pop punk more, I really could have had a future.
I'm assuming this was like a DeLonge vintage, not a Hoppus.
Right. No, it's definitely Tommy boy.
Good buddy.
Yeah, good buddy Tom DeLonge. Yeah. Aliens. Anyway. So, what have you been up to lately to stay creative?
To stay creative, I've been doing writing, but I've really been trying to focus on other things. Like I've been practicing like meditation, which has been interesting. I've been reading a lot more.
Yeah.
So I think it's more like taking in other creative things that I didn't like necessarily have the time for when I was doing comedy, because it's like every night, not every night, but 4 nights a week, you'd be like just out, and then you can't think of anything else or do anything else. So.
Yeah, it is time consuming. I was doing really, really well this year with writing. I mean, and then I've already mentioned it on the show, but the new job has fucking wrecked it. Mm-hmm. It's not great. But what have you been writing?
Oh, just I'm working on. I want to do, because there's no live performance right now.
Right.
I'm trying to find like a niche online, so I want to do some videos. Kind of like I have a bunch of like jokes that tend toward the historical and stuff like that. Yeah. So just like little short videos, just kind of summaries, but with a twisted perspective, a little skewed perspective.
Yeah. Do you think you're gonna do like down the barrel and then like interstitial like images and stuff?
That's what I've been thinking. Like, I know I definitely want to be wearing a robe. That's one of the things I've been getting into. I am deep in the robe game now. I got a robe for a show earlier this year, like a couple months ago, and now I'm just in robe at the house all the time. This is my fucking life, so that's going to be incorporated for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've just been writing, and then also trying to explore new topics, to write about, which is really where the fun is for me.
Yeah, what things have you been interested in lately? I mean, obviously history stuff.
Yeah, the Mexican Revolution is a wild one. Because that one, like, I knew it happened, but I had no idea at all about any of it. So I've been listening to a book on that. Revolutions in general are really where I've been like interested in the French Revolution.
Gee, I wonder what's bringing that on. What's going on in the world right now that has you so interested in revolution?
I can't imagine. No, it is interesting seeing, I don't know, in all the different revolutions in these different countries, Russia, France, Mexico, which are 3 pretty disparate countries as far as things go. How much a lot of the same like tensions fall along the same lines when it comes to class and who owns the land and all this stuff. So it's just very, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's hard to make funny though.
Well, I mean, with tragedy plus time, at least you do have the formula there. The thing that always sticks out to me, which is it's kind of a fucked up thing, but like the American Revolution worked.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few that did. And I am not a historian, but I do like you like history. And a part of me wonders, all of those other revolutions were peasant revolutions, basically. Yeah. And the American Revolution was a revolution of kind of rich landowners who wanted to keep being rich landowners and had managerial experience. And I wonder if that's part of it.
Well, what's interesting is like, so, having just gone through all this Mexican Revolution stuff, all of these revolutions kind of start off with like rich landowners co-opting like this angry will of the people,
Right.
And then at a certain point they try to stop the revolution before it gets like super radical, They're like, all right, let's get it 40% of the way,
Right.
Well, we're getting rid of the king and stuff like that, but the people who own these giant plantations don't get to keep this fucking money.
Right.
Like,
right.
we wanted to, it's like just chopping off one level of the situation. So and I think the fact that like we kept slavery had to do with part of it too. Like,
right.
Just that there's so much of that lower class were people that were already like actively enslaved.
Right. And that didn't change at all. Like it wasn't even it was a quote unquote conversation, but not really. Not really.
They weren't doing that.
Yeah. I really hate when I have like a historical image of something and I realize it was wrong. I thought Patrick Henry was an abolitionist, and then like, because I remember right after I finished my album, I was trying to do this joke about what if the founding fathers were millennials and what would they be like now? And so in the initial joke, I thought Patrick Henry would be like this passionate, like Bernie bro kind of guy, and no, he'd definitely be a libertarian.
Yeah.
I was wrong. All I really knew about him was that one speech that they teach you in high school.
Yeah, not a lot of Bernie bros in the planter class of 1700s America.
No. Well, for some reason, I thought he was one of the New England boys, but he was a Virginia plantation owner. Because I'm apparently a fucking idiot.
It's fine. Most of the people listening to this right now are, who the fuck is Patrick Henry? So right. you're fine. You're doing fine.
Yeah. So, have you been writing any jokes these days, like at all?
Yeah, I've definitely written some jokes, but I don't know. It's hard with there not being any prospect of stage time anytime soon. That it feels futile. So I've been trying to look at other things for that exact reason. Yeah, no, I mean, I've got a few. Something will pop up like, oh, that's fun. I can work that out in 5 months. It'll be fun to bring to a stage.
The Evernote list just keeps getting longer. Yeah. Well, so do you kind of have like a plan for when you're gonna start doing these videos, or is it still just like in the planning stages?
It's still in the planning stages. I had this silly hope because comedy. I was doing comedy as recently as like a month ago. So I had kind of shifted back into that gear, and I was doing a lot of shows and stuff like that, and writing for that. So yeah, I'm still pretty early in this. It's really I don't have exact dates, unfortunately. As far as
right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just something fun for me to do and keep my mind busy and give me an excuse to listen to weird podcasts about shit.
Yeah, I over the past few months, I've been watching a lot more YouTube, and because of because I'm putting the podcast on YouTube. It's the first time, because I had 3 videos up before and 2 of them were okay stand-up sets, and one of them was that sketch you helped me with. And I hadn't really like done any research on what makes a person on YouTube successful, and it's weird. Like videos are fun to make, but it is maybe a bigger job than like to become quote unquote successful at YouTube than just about anything else I've ever tried.
Just like trying to game the algorithm by like putting out so many videos and stuff like that, or
yeah, well, part of it is consistency. Part of it is to have the ability to monetize, you have to have 1,000 subscribers, and you have to have people watch 4,000 minutes of, or maybe 4,000 hours of video before YouTube gives you the option to monetize.
Wow.
So in theory, if you're just a guy making videos one a week or something, it takes years just to have the ability to make money, which, I mean, isn't that different from stand-up.
Yeah.
You know, it's just feels, at least with stand-up, you have an audience telling you you're doing a good job or a bad job, but you know, if every audience tells you you're doing a bad job, hopefully you quit. Eventually.
It does happen eventually.
You know, but with YouTube, you've got to work in a void for a long time, and like, which isn't a reason to do or not to do anything artistic. It's just, it wasn't even discouraging. It was just interesting to me, you know, because I still have video ideas, and stuff I do want to make when I finally get into a good rhythm with the new job and everything. But it's like, oh, okay, so now I know this is just going to be for me, and it will almost certainly never become something that is a practical way to make any kind of income.
No. Any of this has nothing to do with me trying to like monetize it or make any money off it.
Right.
I know that like that's just A, I'm not interested in doing it that way, and B, I don't think that's where my best skill set lies. Right. It's really just like, I don't know, to like keep that like muscle working and to entertain myself. And like, also, I mean, honestly, a lot of the stuff that I'm writing, I could just as easily turn into a 5-minute stand-up bit if I need to. Right. You know, like it's not, it's just really, it's finding, I guess it's trying to find a different way for my jokes to take shape right now while I can't do anything.
Sure.
So I think that's really where my motivation for that comes from.
I would be down for a Caesar History channel. Like, I think it would be really good.
I need to get a pipe of some sort.
Oh, okay.
It's necessary. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying you need to smoke some weed right now.
Oh, no. Oh my God. That would
be... It's like, okay, it's time to smoke some weed.
Wow, what a stress that way for me to say that. No, I just meant like, really to go with the robe situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have thought about, I filmed a couple of like the shit you should know. I posted one of them. One of them is out there, but it was kind of a informational type comedy video as well. And I thought about doing those again, but again, there's so much work for like you're better at like the video editing and stuff than I am.
I'm semi-competent.
Well, which is better than me. But it would be so much work for me to get started that I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. But
doesn't sound like you are.
Yeah, what are some of the so are you thinking of doing topics like the Spanish Civil War and stuff?
Those seem like they need to be bigger things. A lot of my stuff is focused on like, I want it to be focused on smaller things because it's just like to do like have any sort of discussion about that. I guess it would need to be like, this is about Pancho Villa, like
right.
Yeah. That would be like the avenue
which
that I would take from.
Is a rich gold mine because that guy was crazy.
Yeah, he was a wild one. That's like the fun trivia fact, like who was the last person to invade America?
Yeah,
Pancho Villa. Like invade America and like land.
but right before Hawaii got bombed.
Well, I meant like like land invasion of America.
Oh right, yeah.
Specify.
What's the craziest Pancho Villa story you know?
So the crazy thing about him, he was stone cold sober.
Really?
Pancho Villa did not drink or smoke cigars or anything. This man was a sober person. So that's one of the you think of Pancho Villa, you think like gun-toting, like bandit, like shooting guns in the air, taking a swig of tequila. No, he would charge like, so the Spanish Civil War or the Mexican Civil War is happening. Like roughly at the same time as World War One, or like
Mm-hmm.
before and then during, a little bit after, because it happened for like it went
Right.
on for like 10 years. So at the beginning of the Mexican Revolution, Pancho Villa is doing these daring cavalry charges, and he's breaking the backs of the soldiers, and he's. But then World War One starts, and they figure out like trench warfare is where this is going from now on. So then the weird thing about the Spanish Civil War II was like, because it went on for 10 years with like two like different people, Zapata and Pancho Villa. Like I'm rambling right now, but. Anyway, it's for the. We'll cut some of this.
No, we won't. But it's okay. No, it's okay.
Basically, after they learn the techniques of like the
European front,
the First World War, Pancho Villa just kept charging still. Like he was just like, this is how I learned to fight. So we're gonna keep charging these lines on horses and shit like that. It did not go well for him.
Oh
yeah.
I didn't know that. I mean, he was kind of a bastard, but that makes me sad.
He just threw guys in, because it was like he fought the way he knew how to fight.
Right.
He wasn't like some tactician. He was just a dude who had some horses and some guns, and he was able to like leverage that.
He's kind of got some Teddy Roosevelt energy there. You know, like it feels like, you know, Teddy Roosevelt in Cuba.
Yeah.
You know, starting a war just so he could fight in a war.
Yes.
Kind of energy.
Yeah, I'm going to fight in a war and I'm going to lead the charge. It's like, no, Teddy, you're supposed to be president someday. Stop it.
There's no reason for you to do this, future Peace Prize winner Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Thanks for brokering that treaty between Japan and Russia for some goddamn reason, you crazy person. I love Teddy Roosevelt, but by today's standards, a bad man.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know?
I mean, most people back then, by today's standards, were bad people because, you know, for the most part, we're better people.
I hope.
Yeah, I want to do another one on the the Newsboys strike.
Like
the Newsies is based off of.
Yeah.
I think that's...
I know nothing about that.
So that's another interesting one. That was happening right around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Like they were pretty like fucking brutal though, right?
Yeah, and it was all done by like the oldest were like 15, 16. It was like 9-year-olds to like 16-year-old boys. No girls. They did not, because even back, you know, even when you're dirt poor, you can still be sexist.
Yeah, God forbid.
Yeah. William Randolph Hearst raised the rates on their newspaper, because they would like buy them by like, you would get like 100 newspapers for like $1 or something like that. But he like increased it by 10%, and they were like, you know, they like just made a union just out of nowhere, just like a little boy union.
That's amazing.
It's adorable.
Yeah, the littlest union.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never even seen Newsies.
Neither.
Yeah, I don't think I want to. Yeah. All of this stuff. It's like little pockets of history that, if you learn it in class, it's maybe a couple sentences in your history book, and you're never given like a good context for it. You know, I feel like, and then, you know, if you go to college, you only really focus on it if that's your area of focus.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I wish, well, A lot of people just don't care about history at all, and B, there's... Obviously, the longer the world exists, the longer history is. You know,
they're only making more work.
It's impossible. I mean, God damn it! Like, you could say the last 4 years are gonna spawn, you know, so many historical careers, but the last year, you know, it's something we're gonna have lived through, and we're gonna want to tell our... Well, I guess your kid has lived through it, but, you know, a lot of people our age are going to want to tell their kids about it. And they're, I get it. You sat around for a year.
Yeah.
Maybe went to a protest. Good for you, Dad.
I don't necessarily think that this is going to be, like, this year is going to be some weird anomaly.
No, I mean, I think you're probably right when it comes to... I think coronavirus is the only thing about it that was really it's not something we saw coming. Everything else,
Yeah.
probably most of our friends thought were gonna happen
Mhm.
at some point in the last 4 years. You know, the civil unrest and all of that. I frankly am shocked it didn't happen 2 years ago, but I think all of that we saw coming, but coronavirus just added something weird to
It
the
definitely,
mix.
yeah, it had a nice little spice to the mix. Yeah, well, like those things like that, I feel like they have to like happen in waves. Like people protesting a little bit angrier, and then it dies down. They get a little more angry, then it dies down. And this is just, I'm sure we'll see a couple more waves next year that are
Oh yeah.
just as, if not crazier, because people realize like, oh, getting rid of Trump didn't magically fix this like some people told us they would.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest. I thought there were going to be right-wing terror attacks already have happened in the past.
Well, they're so deep in denial right now.
Right.
They still think he won. So wait till they figure out he lost.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I keep thinking things are going to happen sooner than they actually do. Yeah. So I still think we're going to see them. I just think it's going to, it's never going to happen as soon as I think they're going to happen.
No. But then, I don't know, at certain times this summer, it seemed like things were moving much faster than I could have imagined they would have.
That's true.
Like, there's definitely, there's times where I was like, wow, they're just, when they were, like, gassing people in front of the White House. I was like, I didn't think we were here yet, even though a month ago things were,
Yeah, well, I mean, people getting thrown into vans in Portland, like, actual legitimate secret police, attacks, like that shit happening, and the fact that it hasn't continued to happen at an increased rate is good.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's been happening at all is so fucking terrifying, and I'm in very large quotation marks happy that Joe Biden won, but it's like, I don't know that this administration is completely above behavior like that.
No, not at all. Not in the least.
I think we're still in, an atmosphere that lends itself towards authoritarianism. I just think that some of that's going to shift in the future. I've been reading a lot of sci-fi, like speculative fiction and stuff, about how like climate change is just going to lend itself to authoritarianism.
Yeah.
The fact that we didn't handle things in the last 20 years probably means that there are going to be eco-fascists, right-wingers that are justifying what they're doing because we have to save the human race. And we may get to a point where that's possibly the only way to do it, or the only way to save the most people, and that's fucked up because we could have fixed it, and maybe we still can, but there's going to be a growing movement at some point in the next 30 years that's we have to incredibly or drastically limit people's rights to save the environment, and that's not going to come from people like Bernie Sanders. It's going to come from people like Donald Trump, and they're
more pointedly people like Stephen Miller.
More pointedly, people like Stephen Miller.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Reproductive rights will be something that is, it'll be much closer to China. Where like we can't have all these mouths to feed and stuff like that. But it's, I don't know. I mean, there are ways for us to fix it, I think, still, but it requires like drastic change on our parts too, as well as like with a lot of corporations, and I don't foresee that happening. So yeah, I mean, eventually it'll be a Mad Max style situation where it's like, oh, I've got all this water, so I have power, and it goes back to our basest instincts.
Yeah, God damn it, I keep bringing up William Gibson, and nobody else has read him. None of my friends have read him.
I haven't.
The most recent books he's been working on have been about basically the world becomes a kleptocracy because of climate change. In the books they call it the jackpot, which is just, they call it the jackpot because, hey, it worked out for a very small amount of people who, once everyone started dying, were able to pick up all the resources. And it's not like technology stopped developing. So it's still a very highly advanced society. They have fixed a lot of the greenhouse problems, but there's 10% of the population left.
Yeah.
And that 10% has a lot of wealth, but it was at the cost of the rest of humanity.
Yeah.
And then there's all this stuff about them like digging a tunnel to the past, and they can't go through, but they can like talk to people in the past and stuff. Like they can communicate, but they can't send things either way physically. So.
Okay, so that seems like you got a lot going on there.
There is a lot going on there. There is, yeah.
I mean, kleptocracy, future, 10% of population, all that, very, very intense. And then also time tunnel, but also a physical tunnel?
No, not a physical tunnel. No,
right.
it's like it's like an informational tunnel.
I was imagining a literal like tunnel in the ground.
No. Like they don't get into the science of it because William Gibson is very open about the fact that he is not a science savvy person, but he is very good at looking at societal trends.
Yeah, I feel like that's also what all sci-fi writers do.
Which that's I think what the best sci-fi writers do. Yeah, they aren't necessarily computer he's the guy who invented everything that became the Matrix. But that was back in the 80s, and now he's kind of on this thing, which is very, very different world than what he created back in the day. But basically, like the good guys in the story, this is one of the most hopeful books of his I've read. But basically, they wind up kind of by the end of the book influencing people in the past to try to veer us off. And so it's not even the same timeline anymore. Like, it doesn't affect their world. It affects some other branch, but they're like, hey, let's see.
That's nice of them.
Yeah, let's see if we can fix this. I mean, they're also kind of mining data resources from our... It would still be like 30 years in our future, but like from the time in the past. They're still like mining data resources and stuff that can still influence stuff in their future.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I totally follow what's happening.
Right. I know. This is... Look, okay, you're one of my only friends who likes to read, okay?
No, that's fair. But
if I'm holding you hostage here, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just worried about your poor podcast listeners who are like...
I know. I'm sorry, guys.
Mining for the future?
Yeah. They're not mining resources, but they are mining data from the past. Yeah, but sorry, we got off on this tangent because the world's on fire. And
how about yours?
Oh yeah, hey, let's go play a concert in Sturgis. Yeah, that fucking rally is still getting people sick too.
I'm sure you heard Rudy Giuliani sick.
Yeah, I'm not sad about that.
He's having quite a year.
Black shit rolling down his face. Yeah. Boy, I sure hope you're not sick, listener.
Well, yeah, we don't want anybody to get.
Yeah, unless you're
sick.
Rudy Giuliani listening to my podcast.
Yeah.
In which case, I hope you die. I'm literally okay with Rudy Giuliani dying at this point. Yeah. So, how are you coping, like, with being in close quarters with your little family unit here?
Oh, that's not... It really hasn't been bad. Yeah. No, that has been pretty easy. I feel like... I mean, honestly, I feel like I am probably the one who's the most exhausted because I'm not getting all of my, like, comedy juices out. So I do feel like I can definitely be a bit much sometimes with just, like, needing to just... get a laugh or just fucking pester somebody and be like, hey, remember I'm funny? Right? Do you remember? Because you forgot. So, I mean, I try to be cognizant of like, all right, Ceasar, chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Have Alyssa, has Alyssa just like locked yourself in another room to watch something you don't want to, or vice versa?
Oh, I mean, that definitely, we definitely like part at some point in time in the evening just because I stay up later. But like, we've both been working pretty much this entire time. So,
Right.
like, we've been home more, obviously, but it's not like we're home all day together. Like, we still have somewhat different shifts. So, like, she leaves before I do, I get back after her. We work, we only have one day off together.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not, it's definitely, we get a little, stir crazy sometimes. But, we're, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
It could be much worse.
Yeah. I feel like, early in the year, Brittany and I ran out of shit to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We were together so much. It was just like, hey, look at this meme. Became, most of our conversations.
Pointing phones at each other.
And now that, and then we got back to work and things were, we actually, could have conversations again. But now I'm working so much that, there are days when I get home and she's already asleep because she has to get up so early. Mm-hmm. So we've gone from one extreme to the other, which, this extreme might actually be healthier in the long run, but it does suck. Yeah, so let's talk about better times. Let's talk about like goals. Like when everything settles down and you can, get back to doing comedy at a regular pace, what are kind of the things you're aiming for?
Definitely get into more festivals. So I did, one of the nice things is when things were opened up, like September, October, I was able to get some sets in. I got a nice recording over at Looney's. One of another comedian, Tracy, who I'm sure you'll have on.
I'll have Tracy on soon.
And her husband Chris shot all this video, so I've got like a really nice video for me to send out. So that is really my next thing, is get myself into festivals and branch out outside of Colorado Springs, which is what I said at the last podcast right at the beginning of this fucking pandemic.
No movement has been made in anyone's comedy career in 9 months.
Done a fucking thing. No, so that is that's really where I'm at. And I've had specific goals, when it comes to my comedy, just being much more engaged with audience members and trying to make every set, unique and just like a little more free form, because I do feel like I'm pretty quick on my feet and like trying to use that.
I mean, I would say in person you definitely are, but on stage, not always, but typically you're pretty much, okay, these are my jokes.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm trying not to be that person.
Right. Yeah. Have you thought about doing sets where you're just doing crowd work or whatever?
I've done what I was doing was just making sure like I've got 1 minute to 2 minutes of crowd work in this set somewhere. Just like, don't force it, but when it's open, like trust yourself to be like, let's have a conversation with this person. Yeah. Let's point this out, like, stuff like that. And so I really tried to embrace that. The few sets I could get in during that time frame, and I really loved it. I was having good success with it, and it was making things interesting and more exciting, and really helps grab attention better.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've atrophied at all with when you were doing sets in September and October? Because I did a few, but I feel like you did more than I did.
Yeah, no, I was definitely hitting it as hard as I could during that time. I did feel like it at first, but I hadn't gone like super long, because I had been lucky enough to have a couple of shows during the summer. Even when things were open, there were still like these open air like drive-in shows and stuff like that. So I had at least had something on the comedy docket once every month and a half to at least keep my brain somewhat in that space. Yeah. So once I, my first couple sets back, when I was doing it regular, were not good. But once I got back like into it, I felt really good about it. I felt as comfortable as I did, a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I kind of feel the same way just with the few sets I was able to get in. Like I still feel like I put that video up of of the set I did for the cultural office, which is not by any means as strong a set as like where I want to be at right now, but it was like I made it so people could see it. I'm going to show it to people too. I'm not going to be ashamed of it. But this is what I look like, rusty.
Yeah.
And then I had a few more sets after that where I really felt like I was back into it, and I was like, oh, I wish I could have used this set, but that's okay. I mean, it's really okay. And then things started getting really bleak, probably because we were doing things like that again. I mean,
I've been lucky in that I haven't, as far as I know, I've got anything. I've been tested. But no, at the same time, we've probably been less responsible than other people.
It's a hard choice to make, and like even when I was doing those shows, we were wearing masks.
Yeah.
We were sanitizing mics. We weren't maybe. I guess my only guilt comes in that we were providing something for less responsible people to do. Yeah. I guess is kind of where I don't know that I actually feel comfortable with making that choice. It's not so much the way I comported myself, but I gave people the opportunity to comport themselves maybe in a way they shouldn't be. And that's that it doesn't keep me up at night, but I do think about it. I mean, that being said, I work with customers every day.
Yeah.
And so I'm out in the world in a way I'm not really comfortable with now, but I mean, I have a responsibility to earn a living too. I can't.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So
I'm lucky in that I work in a small office, but still, like it's
yeah.
If I was paid to, if they did what most other civilized countries have done and just paid people to stay home for a couple months, I would have just done that and been happy. But I had to work.
Yeah. Which they should have, and this wouldn't be the issue it is now.
There's plenty of other countries where people are essentially back to normal.
Yeah, or very close to. I mean, I think a lot of countries people are still wearing masks.
Oh, but, well, yes.
Like norm, the new normal. But it's not. They're not overwhelming hospitals.
Yeah.
Like we are. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, just going back to history, how we look back on this. I mean, because I know people have been drawing a lot of comparisons to the Spanish flu, but I didn't even learn about the Spanish flu in school.
Yeah.
That's not something, it wasn't a frame of reference I had until this happened. And I wonder if that's gonna, I mean, I assume it'll just be the case again in another 100 years when something like this happens.
If we're lucky, it'll be another 100
If we're lucky,
years.
it'll be another 100 years.
A lot more people than there were before.
That's true.
A lot more people.
That's true. You gonna take the vaccine right away?
Oh man, why you gotta put me on record?
I'm just curious.
I'm very torn. I am very torn. I will take it at some point in time. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna get to be one of the first people.
Right,
I'm a 33-year-old healthy person who isn't like a frontline fucking worker. Like it's gonna be a while till I get one. So by the time it gets to me, yeah, sure.
Yeah. I had God knows I know you don't listen to this, but if you do listen to one episode, you should listen to the episode I did with Jordal and Casey, because we were talking about how it's like, I don't care if it makes me grow a tail.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get that shit. I hope it's a monkey tail.
I hope it gives me a tail. Like,
yeah,
what are we talking about?
That's kind of where we.
I don't care if it does. Good. I'm glad. That seems.
What kind of tail would you pick?
Not a flesh one. That's gross.
Right.
Weird. I don't want one that's like made of arm. Like that's terrible. Yeah. I would want a like a prehensile monkey tail. One that maybe I'm not able to like lift myself up on, but I can hang from.
Yeah.
Like that's
I figured I'd have to lose a little weight if I got a monkey tail, but monkey tail was my choice too.
Yeah.
Casey wants a kangaroo tail so he can kick people.
He can kick people anyway.
No, but he wants to like lay back on the tail.
Yeah, I get it, but like you can kick people. I can already kick people. Like I cannot do any sort of hanging from my butt now.
Right. Oh man, the bits you could do. with that. You go to the right kind of venue that has, scaffolding up in the ceiling. You do jokes from upside down. That'd be great. I mean, you'd have to become a different kind of comic.
Be Lloyd Skyby.
Yeah, you'd be the fucking Dane Cook of the post-COVID era.
Yeah, plane cook.
Yeah.
Just here to make air puns. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. What kind of so what would be a dream festival for you to get into?
I mean, just for laughs would be, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, right now, like an attainable one would be High Plains. That is
right.
The Colorado Springs representation is not great.
No, it is not. I feel like we were starting to make strides, like right before all this happened. I mean, not like. I don't go up to Denver nearly enough to be relevant, but like you were going up there sometimes. Tracy and Callan and a bunch of other people were actually going.
Well, Callan's handling business.
Yeah, Callan's doing great. I don't know Callan very well, so I haven't had him on the show yet, but I gotta talk to him because he seems to have a good head on his shoulders about bidness.
Yeah, but then he has bad hair on that good head. So.
Yeah. I think that's part of the plan.
Yeah, no, I think having a distinct look is helpful.
Yeah.
He has a big mullet, just for the listeners.
Right. Look up Callan Reese. He's very funny.
Yeah, he's very funny. Yeah, some commercials.
Yep. But yeah, like you guys are probably doing better than me when it comes to like being ambassadors, but I was bringing people down for my show and I ran a good show, which a lot of times when Denver comics came down for shows for a very long time, they were confused because it's a lot easier to do comedy in Denver than it is in the Springs.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it. Like the audiences don't need as much from you in Denver because they are more cosmopolitan or they're more I don't want to say, I mean, they're probably more cultured, but they're more excited about
they're more
arts.
at least a specific culture. Let's put it that way. Right?
Yeah.
They're a
maybe people who go to comedy shows in Denver know what alternative comedy is.
Yes.
And comedy audiences in the Springs for a long time were still on the blue collar kind of
people.
kick. So it took, I don't know if it was us or Netflix, but I'm probably Netflix that started teaching audiences in the Springs what good comedy is, and people got excited about going to shows. And so when in the past couple of years bringing comics down from Denver, they were actually having a good time as opposed to just bombing and being confused as to why they were bombing. And I think we had something good going where we really could have started infiltrating that scene.
Well, they're shut down far worse than we are here, so they will have to infiltrate our scene now.
Goddamn right. Yeah.
Come on down here, folks.
Yeah, come on down and spread the COVID.
No, they're taking it very seriously. I don't know. I've worked with a couple of Denver comics over the last few months, and they've been like, I'm good with the mask, but then I'm sitting around with like my girlfriend and like Tracy or something at the bar, and I'm like, I'm gonna take my mask off and just bullshit, and they're just like,
nope,
on and all times. Which they're better people than me, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll bring the COVID.
I hope not. I don't know. The entire state of California is shut down now.
Yeah.
Like most of the state cannot leave their houses at the moment. But yeah, it's High Plains would be a lot of fun to do.
Yes. Circling back.
It would be just because like we know enough people there that it wouldn't be awkward.
Yeah, 100%.
Although like I feel like maybe going to a festival where nobody knows each other might actually be easier because there's no like pecking order.
But those people do know each other. There are people. That's the thing is like you'll go there and you won't know anybody, but there will be people there who are more established that
that's
know
true.
Other people.
That's true.
Yeah. I would rather, I'm such a pussy when it comes to like social situations.
Yeah,
that, like,
me too.
Give me somebody to hold my hand and like walk me through and introduce me to people.
I remember,
just make me feel all right.
Yeah, I remember. I won't say her name because I think she was on drugs, and but I remember volunteering at High Plains a few years back, and a Denver comic who I know a little bit and have worked with, like. I was working a door and she busted out of the door drunk and maybe high and then saw me and looked at me and clearly couldn't remember my name and was at a level of intoxication where she's like, I don't know if I should say hi or not. It was really funny.
Yeah. Does her name rhyme with Swiper?
No.
That was a good guess.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, that is a good guess, but no. Okay. I'll tell you later.
That's fine.
Yeah, I gotta get. I really, when it comes to getting a tape, I'd really like to get a better one than I have.
Yeah.
At this point, because like the most recent one isn't a good representation of me at the top of my game, and the one I had before was a really good representation of who I was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And not who I am now. But what do you think? Do you have any tips, I guess, on making a tape? Like what?
I mean, I don't even know if this one works. Get into it right away, when it comes to the cracking of the jokes. So, hey, give it up for blah, give it up for blah. Let's give it up for yourselves. Give it up for the wait staff. Let's do a quick Pledge of Allegiance. You want to just, I don't know, get into it quickly. Make sure it's not a terrible tape. I don't know, like looks clean, I don't know.
Don't have John Rummery laughing louder than anyone else right next to the microphone.
Yeah. Simple things like that are good. I mean, one thing, here's a good tip is if you can jack into the soundboard, do so. That's if you want really clear sound.
Do you still pick up the audience that way, or do you have to like merge it with
you do. You will have to.
Yeah.
But
I could probably ask Chris to help me at some point.
Chris is very competent at that stuff. It's so really when I said did I have advice for anyone, was it advice for Andrew?
Yeah, absolutely. It was advice for me. Everything about this show is self-serving. This isn't for anyone else, buddy. Yeah. Other than submitting to festivals, do you have any like short-term, long-term goals when it comes to?
I do want to get an audio recording out there somewhere. I know this local comedian who did got something on Spotify and had some success with it. And I was like, if he can fucking do it,
literally anyone can do it. Literally, there is no saying what I have is anything like success is a little generous, but I appreciate it.
And it's also just like I think the idea of like crystallizing like me at that time in those jokes, because like I have old jokes that like I might tell again, but they won't be like what they were because they were just something that I was really tight with, and it was just who I was at that time, and they're just basically gone now, and I would like to have, I don't know, just something to be able to throw out there. So it's like, hey Caesar, you've been doing comedy for a while now. Like, do you have literally anything physically to show for this? And I'm like, I've got like a broken trophy. All right. And
do you hold the belt right now?
No. I'm talking about the I do not hold the roast belt. No, although God, I fucking love roast.
They're fun.
They're the most fun. No, I've got a Sons of Comedy Sons of Anarchy.
Oh yeah.
That I got a trophy for the first comedy tournament I ever entered. It was a local comedy tournament. I was very excited. Within 3 days of getting that trophy, I broke the front legs off both of them. And I thought I had to like return it. I thought it was like, okay, then next year it will go to the next person.
Yeah.
So I just spent all year.
It was the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, essentially. I was like, all year I was stressing about I got to return this, and I was like, hey Ben, like I broke the trophy, man. I don't know, like I can glue it together, but it's not going to look great. And he was just like, oh yeah, no, we have like a new one.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh man, that's funny. Casey also went on a tear about how he invented comedy anarchy, which was maybe the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That sounds like something Casey would invent.
It was really funny. Just because of drama in the scene,
Yeah.
it was so funny to me. Yeah.
There's been no comedy drama.
There's
It's
the
all-
last the last comedy drama.
You know, with a bang punching a magician. That's pretty.
Yeah, somebody got punched, and then there was a bunch of really good comics dogpiling on someone who barely qualifies as an open micer at this point 6 months ago.
Yeah,
and that was about it. Oh man, comedy drama is fun. Because
it really is,
because I'm never like a part of it.
It's because it's like so low stakes, but also everybody's very invested, and like
Right.
people are really trying to like be witty about it too. So it's usually pretty entertaining, at least for a little bit, until it veers off and it just like people being angry.
Until people get like legitimately mad, but
People get legitimately mad at me.
yeah, I also feel like it was a lot easier to navigate when there were fewer people in the scene.
Yeah,
Like there are more people. I don't know everyone as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there are personality clashes that I don't understand now, or I didn't even know about until somebody tells me at a show, or I see something snarky on Facebook, and I'm like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
I used to know everything, and now I'm less. I don't know if I'm less plugged in, or there's just too much to keep track of.
Yeah. What I'm curious about is when things do eventually come back sometime in 2021 with like some real like permanence and like maybe they're not at the same level, but like who never comes back. You know, there are
Right.
people who were like regular comedians that just will not come back after this.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't want to. I mean, I wouldn't throw any names
But like,
out
yeah,
there,
I'm not
but
saying
like,
name a specific person, but I
yeah.
just think that's an interesting thing. It's like, were these people doing comedy just because it was momentum based, or did they find something during this break that means they don't need to do it anymore?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many different reasons as to why.
I think people who did not like writing comedy won't be back. People who actually like writing jokes will want to get back in the rhythm.
Yeah.
And people who had been doing the same 5 minutes since they started a year ago, or 2 years ago or whatever, since it's been a year of nothing happening, but those people probably won't. Or if they do, they'll come back twice, and
they'll just disappear.
They'll just disappear. Which, I mean, I was actually shocked when our scene started to grow a couple years ago, because I feel like for a long time, Ceasar was the new comedian.
Yeah,
in
for a
town
long time.
For a long time. And then George showed up.
Yeah.
I feel like George was the new comedian after you.
I mean, there was definitely some interim. Like, I feel like Nyland came in.
I guess, Nyland.
But yeah, no, there was definitely a lot. It was a much smaller scene. There were fewer mics, you know, than they were like a year ago. There was a mic every night of the week, and you would see different people at every one.
And it's not like any of them were great. You might have 2 good mics a week if you were really lucky.
Yeah.
And it could be different mics, different weeks, but you know, you would see different. It was weird because it was like if you went to Oscar Blues, there were comedians there that you wouldn't see anywhere else.
I would see. I'm like, I've never seen this person before.
Yeah,
I've been in comedy like 4 months. Like, where?
Here. This
Where
is the only place I do it. You know, I show up to the Loonies mic and I show up here.
Yeah.
You know,
Loonies mic.
Yeah. Well, and there were always. It was always so baffling to me because we'd go to the Loonies mic for years, and there would be 20 people on the list, or 30.
There'd be like 40 people.
There'd be 40
20
people.
of them new.
Yeah, 20 of them new. Some of them really funny.
Yeah.
Like some of them legitimately, you know, you're only up there for 2 minutes, but, you know, sometimes those people would be really funny. And you'd say, dude, you're really funny. There's another show tomorrow night at, you know, the Underground.
There were frequently other shows that night later.
Yeah, that's true. That's
there
true.
was often a show after an open mic.
I know I just went up. You had a really good set. I'm going over here. Do you want to come with me?
Yeah.
And they say, no, I'm just going to watch the rest of this. It's like, cool. Well, tomorrow night there's another show. I hope I see you there. And they never
They'd be
come.
like, oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and
for sure.
it was like, you were actually good.
Yeah, it's like these people that like, because there's not really like a rubric for comedy and like how it works, especially at like a low level.
Yeah.
So it's like they don't know that like you can actually do stuff and not at a comedy club. In fact, most comedy does not happen at comedy clubs.
Right. I would say...
Certainly out here.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, that's true in LA. Yeah. It may not be true in New York. Well, there's like a really good alternative scene in New York, but there's also a lot of comedy clubs in New York. But there aren't a lot of hours happening in shitty bars in basements of places.
Oh yeah. It's generally a much shorter set.
But there are more comedy shows that don't happen at comedy clubs than at comedy clubs, I would say. Yeah. But
it's like more sex happens in random beds than on porn.
That's true. That's
the
true.
exact same thing.
Yeah. Or at least that was true until OnlyFans started.
That's fair.
No, that's a really good point, though. I wonder if... I don't know what caused that change. I don't know if maybe we had made the shows bearable enough at that point that people actually wanted to come out to them. Or
I think what it is I feel like people get into comedy different ways, and I feel like you and I and a lot of the comics that we started with, and most people that do comedy regularly like got into comedy through Comedy Central or through Comedy Albums or something like that, where they were like seeking that out.
Yeah.
Whereas,
well,
like,
I got
podcast.
Yeah, I got there through podcasts, but
something that's a little bit more connected, a little bit deeper, a little more out of the way. Whereas I feel like, and this is purely conjecture, and I have zero data to back this up, but like I feel like people that like would just do stuff at like Loonies, it's like, oh, they saw funny stuff on Netflix.
Sure.
And they're like, so I just go to this thing because like if I can't do it here, why would I do it anywhere else? You know what I mean?
Right.
They're in it to like have this big stage, whereas I feel like a lot of people are in it
for the jokes.
Like for me, like honestly, like I do feel like comedians get into this for different reasons, and so much of it for me is like validation of not who I am, but like the things that I have to say. That is
right.
It's far more to do with like the words that I am writing down and then repeating than like my stage presence or anything like that.
Yeah,
like that is where I like derive that joy from.
Which I think is the same for me. Which I can say at least it's interesting for me to hear you talking about like starting to do more crowd work and stuff, because like eventually you do have to start adding to that tool belt.
Yeah.
I mean, because like this sounds condescending because you're a great comic anyway, but I've seen a lot of growth in you in the time we've known each other, and I hope you've seen the same.
It'd be weird if you didn't see any growth in me. Like, you're the exact same comic you were 5 years ago.
Oh God!
Actually, I've been out here 6 years today.
Oh wow! Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Congratulations. Happy birthday. I don't know what the congratulate, like how to respond exactly. What's the format to respond to that? But that's awesome. It was today.
Yeah.
That's exciting. And you chose to spend it with me on my little podcast. So thanks, buddy.
Memories,
yeah. But no, like I think you're a better comic than you were 6 years
certainly
ago. And I'm a better comic than I was 6 years ago. Yeah. And well,
that was for the audience.
But when we started, I think for this is just going off of what you said and what I know about you, being your friend and watching you on stage so many times. The writing has been the biggest part of it for both of us.
Yeah.
But a big stepping stone for me where I started connecting with the audience better was recognizing just casually, like, because I never really recorded myself a lot, but starting to understand what I sound like to the audience and why what I was doing wasn't working. And, you know, going a little bit bigger, a little bit goofier. Which when I started, I had some sort of... one, I wasn't comfortable enough to do it, which was probably the biggest part, and probably the second part was just a justification for that. But the second thing being, I wanted the jokes to stand on their own, and if I couldn't make the jokes stand on their own, then I'm not really a good writer.
Yeah, listen, if I can't just paint these on a wall with gestures to make you laugh, it's not a good fucking joke.
Right.
It's garbage is what it is.
Which is... so naive. And
it's not how people communicate.
Exactly. They say, what, 70% of communication is nonverbal. Like, you have to recognize what you're doing as well as what you're saying. And that doesn't detract from the other... It doesn't detract from the writing to make this enjoyable for the audience.
No, absolutely. And I think part of crowd work is like, it is writing, but it's like writing on the spot, and that's why I like it. It's like, it's adding difficulty to the thing. Right.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, like, you'll hear really seasoned comedians complain about comics that waste time on a show just doing crowd work, and I kind of get what they mean, but it's also like, if you're trying to get better, that's a way you have to get better. Alyssa's here, everybody. Say hi, Alyssa.
Oh, hi, guys.
She was trying to be sneaky.
It's a privilege to be here.
Yeah, we'll get Alyssa on another episode if she wants to do
later.
it.
Yay!
Much later, though.
Yeah.
Much later.
Much later. After I've exhausted everyone I actually like.
I better be on here twice. Well, yeah, I think your point about crowd work is true in certain respects. Like, I was doing some comedy with a couple out of town comedians. They were really good at crowd work, but all the crowd work was very specific. It was all relationship based, pointing out groups of like men and women that are sitting together and like digging into that. And like that's fine, I guess, if that's what you're interested in, but that is not like the kind of crowd work that interests me, or I think that's probably the kind of stuff that also annoys these like long-standing comedians, because like relationship, how long you guys been dating, crowd work has been around since fucking time immemorial.
Right. That's like very like cats, like the Catskills guys were doing that.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, like for example, like, this is going to sound conceited, but giving it an example of crowd work that I enjoyed that I did was, I was doing a comedy set. I don't know if I think you might have been there.
Yeah.
And some guy was making fun of my name as Caesar Salad.
Okay.
And I forget, his name was like Bob or some shit. It was some boring. So I just like had a conversation with him about why my name really wasn't that bad and why his name was actually much shittier. They would not make a Bob salad. All this, but anyway, like that was more like, I like the more spontaneous, like natural feeling crowd work, where it's like, I'm not forcing this relationship conversation. I'm noticing something specific and referencing that.
This isn't stock. This isn't fake pre-packaged. This isn't, I changed 3 words, but It's like,
she's a scuba diver instructor. They fuck. She's an airline stewardess.
Yeah, they can hold their breath for a long time.
It's. I did with that weekend. I saw them hit. I mean, not all of it, obviously. Some of it is still off the cuff, but 40 to 60% of it was like recycled, like relationship humor that they could just bust out.
Sam Talent. In his book, well, one, probably the best crowd work I've ever seen.
Sam Talent, because his is natural crowd work.
Yes, it is 100% genuine, and in his book, he talks. The main character of his book, look. He's going to be on Marin. Like, he recorded with Marin. So, like, me talking about Sam...
podcast after this podcast.
Right, me talking about Sam Talent's book is a little redundant, but
WTF, Mindful of Madness.
Right. But it's very good, and it's about kind of like this road comic at the end of his rope. And he doesn't go into a lot of the sets in like specifics, but he talks about the kind of jokes this guy is telling. And like he's clearly a guy who was a very good comedian at one point,
Yeah.
and then his life fell apart, and he lost it, but he still kills because he knows
He
the
has these
motion.
tricks.
He has
Yeah.
the tricks, and it's a lot of those stock crowd work things, you know, and it just knowing Sam and seeing him do stand up so much, and then seeing the subtextual opinion of this guy and what he does was so interesting to me, because it's like, you're not shitting on crowd work. And I don't even know if he's shitting on stock work. He's just shitting on, or not even shitting on, he's just kind of pointing to the tragedy of,
the emptiness of that.
the emptiness of what this guy has become, that this is what he has to do. There's no fulfillment in it for him, but this is all he knows how to do. And like, I think as a creative looking at that and seeing like, this is a path any of us could go down. Like if we reach a certain level of success and we can't get out of the game, but the world still, you know, chews you up and spits you out. Like this is like a possibility for all of us.
Absolutely. And I mean, I felt that with certain sets, or like, oh, I don't want to do this joke, but like this is just where I'm at right now. Or like, I don't know. Like I've definitely felt myself like doing that like dead-eyed stripper dance on the pole sometimes.
Have you ever had a set where you've killed and felt shitty afterwards?
Never, not shitty. Like if I kill, I'm like, because I can still justify it as like, I brought these people what they wanted. But I've definitely killed with stuff where I've been like, oh, that was a weird, especially if I recorded like, oh, I don't like that my laugh was there. That's not, you guys were laughing at the wrong thing, or like not getting where I was going. Like that sort of stuff will bother me for sure. Yeah. And I will notice that far more than I will like all of the good, you know. Right. I'll notice the 4 people out of 60 that are not laughing and be like, what did I do? These 4 people, they were in 4 different places too. They weren't on one table. They were all over the place. Yeah, I remember this was the first Sons of Comedy Anarchy tournament, and we had that show at the at the Underground. That was or in the basement. That was the show that honestly made me most sure that I could make comedy work. But... Right. But here's what I remember about that show. I remember everyone doing a great job. I remember I did a great job. And I remember getting off the stage furious at the way they had laughed at my jokes. Just like you're talking about. That's interesting. I remember I told... Like, I have the Freddie Mercury joke, which I kind of feel is in poor taste. Now, like, I've matured, and I don't know that that's a joke I would tell now. But remembering at least it was subtle. Yeah. At least I wasn't, and I remember having to say the word AIDS to get the laugh. I had a Freddie Mercury AIDS joke, guys, and I was much like Freddie. It didn't last. Yeah, it didn't last. I won't tell it now. Are you sure? So don't stop you now. Yeah, don't stop me now. Okay. Gotcha. Well, I mean, or do stop me now. Yeah, okay, but gotcha. Yeah. It was a Killer Queen joke, though. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I was under a lot of pressure at the time. Yeah. You know, I wanted to prove myself as a funny man in this community, but I had a good set, and I just remember with that joke not being able to land the punchline with subtlety. Mm-hmm. I got so angry that I actually had to go basic with it. Mm-hmm. And I, truth be told, I mean, that's probably where the joke lost its magic, although I did not have enough jokes at the time to stop telling it. Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I think that's the first time I ever got off stage after doing a good job from the audience's perspective and feeling like I... not that I phoned it in, but that I had not earned it in the way I wanted to earn it. That's funny. I had the exact opposite experience. Yeah, that was honestly that show. One of the most uplifting. Like I was like, I am the fucking man. Like I felt so powerful after that set. That was like the first time I had really like fucking killed like in a situation where like it was important to me that I kill and that like that was I could not have been happy
that
with
show. I mean, legitimately, the show is packed. It was a great show, and one of the first great shows I remember from our scene.
Yeah,
I just remember, and maybe this is just me like being fucking insane, like and not being able to accept good things. But I remember being so angry, not even angry, just like I felt like I had betrayed my quote unquote integrity in this joke that I would not even tell anymore.
Freddie Mercury AIDS joke.
In my Freddie Mercury AIDS joke that I now feel is in such poor taste that I wouldn't tell it now.
Yeah.
But that I had stooped to an even lower level to get the laugh there. It stuck with it. Like that was 4 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago.
Yeah, I would say about 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy how time elongates because you moved here probably 4 months after I started stand-up. But for me, it felt like I had been doing stand-up for a year and a half.
Really?
And suddenly there's this new guy, and he might be funnier than me, and I don't know if I can handle that.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
No, it's that's why that's one thing I like about comedy is like I feel like for the most part, like you can definitely have your words misconstrued and whatnot, but like for the most part, people get what you're trying to say. Yeah. That's why I think of like painters and like directors and stuff like that. Like people will take your shit and just run with it and like have the complete opposite like reaction and like interpretation and understanding of your work.
The Matrix and Fight Club.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Like two trans people make this thing that is essentially kind of in retrospect about them figuring out they're trans in the long run.
Like they didn't make
The Matrix.
Well, no, not The Matrix. Fight Club.
No, but Fight Club was written by a gay man.
Is Mahoney gay?
Polynek's gay.
What? I had no idea.
Yeah, Polynek's gay.
That's fine. Yeah. There was a time, which is the perfect time, like 20-year-old Caesar, 19-year-old Caesar read a lot of his books.
Yeah.
I fucking chunked through like 5 or 6 of them in the summer.
I think I've only read Fight Club.
Actually, that's the one I've never read.
Yeah.
Like Choke, Survivor, all these I've read. I don't have them. I just read them all in a Barnes & Noble instead of going to class. Literally. I would, because I had class in...
We had very similar college experiences.
Bakersfield, California, which was like 40 minutes away from where I lived with my parents. So I would drive out there and I would just like either chill in the computer lab and like ditch class or chill at the Barnes & Noble and just crush books.
Yeah.
Just sitting there like with a coffee or something like that.
Yeah, I would go to the public library. Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It was community college, so it didn't cost much.
Same. We did the exact same thing. That actually explains a lot about both of us. But yeah, I went to the public library in Anderson, Indiana, which is, by the way, the best public library I've ever been to. But yeah, I would do the same thing. But yes, Chuck Palahniuk, gay man, wrote Fight Club about toxic masculinity.
Well, yeah, that is very much. Yeah.
And was that Fincher who directed?
Yes.
Yeah. And Fincher directed the movie, and it became this, this completely misunderstood, like, do you not recognize that when he's chasing Tyler Durden across the country, like in the beginning of the third act, end of the second act, that like he goes to a bar looking for Tyler Durden, and there are a bunch of like, there's a body on the table in the back, and they're saying his name is Robert Paulson. They're saying the same name as Bob. They're a fucking cult, guys. Yeah. Stop worshiping this movie.
Yeah, people will often take the like wrong thing from movies, and it's just it's like you get that this is not like the cool person, right? Like you don't want to be Ray Liotta in Goodfellas. Like,
No,
that's not. You're not trying to be that person. Stop it.
Or you don't want to be anybody in Goodfellas. Yeah. Definitely not Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. I think people do misconstrue comedians as well.
Mhm.
I mean,
I think it happens. I just don't think it can be quite as severe or as off. I guess they
Yeah.
can take you at the opposite of what you mean. You can be doing a joke mocking, homophobic people.
Right.
And they could think that you are maybe pro-homophobia. But, like...
well, there's the classic Chappelle thing
Mhm.
where, like the Black Klansman sketch.
Yeah.
And white people coming up to him like, man, yeah, you're racist too. That's great. People laughing the wrong way.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, maybe you're right because like I'm thinking too much about this.
No, I mean I do think the comedians can be misinterpreted certainly, but it just I just don't think it can be as
right.
vast,
It's we do have the luxury of telling the audience exactly what we think.
Yeah. It's you get to take in their reaction. So if they laugh at something weird, you have the chance to correct it there.
That's
like,
true.
I don't like you. Well, you guys didn't get
Yeah.
And that's why I've stopped telling like Puerto Rican jokes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I actually have a couple in this video that I did just because I was like just trying out some old stuff to bring it up, but. Because I didn't like the laughs I was getting. Some of them were like, oh, like, I am also Hispanic, I've experienced this. And some of them were like, oh, let's just laugh at the brown guy. And, like, I'm not trying to get those laughs. That is not...
Yeah. Well, this is, again, because this podcast is completely self-serving. I'd be curious on your perspective here because I've been thinking for a while now, probably... honestly a little pre-pandemic and it's all kind of gone on the back burner. I want to talk more about growing up. I want to become good enough to talk about my life, which is not necessarily immediately relatable, because I grew up in such a weird situation. Because like I feel like people are at least familiar with stereotypes, right? Like Fluffy is funny, and look, Gabriel Iglesias is a funny comic. He's a better comic than me. He's a better comic than you. He's
certainly per pound.
Yeah, certainly per pound. But he and his first couple specials are genuinely great. But like he has a lot of Hispanic jokes, some of which maybe get the wrong kind of laughs. But they're funny even for people who aren't of Hispanic descent because stereotypes are recognizable. But I'm a white guy that grew up in South America and grew up in this kind of weirdly religious way that I have very specific feelings about, which aren't necessarily negative or positive feelings about. It's just I have kind of a strange perspective on it. And I don't know if my perspective on the way I grew up isn't easily categorizable. And I'm a little worried of, as a very white person, talking about growing up in a Hispanic Latino situation, and doing so in a respectful way. Like,
I think there's different kinds of stereotyping. Like there's the kind of stereotyping that's like proves like I know something deep about like you in this culture, and like it comes from like an understanding of like, even if it's a generalization, which all stereotypes obviously are, it's like I am saying this with like deep knowledge of, even if you're an outsider, like your culture. And like if those people are on board with that joke, then that's a good thing. But then there's also the kind of like stereotype jokes that be like complete ignorance about those people. So I think that's really where the difference lies. It's like, are you telling jokes that are like, oh, South Americans are like this, blah blah blah. They love to, overthrow their
their
duly elected-
government, right? Which
duly CIA appointed government.
Yeah.
Or is it like, oh, I lived among these people. This is some funny stuff, and not like.
Yeah.
And I think it also a lot of it depends on tone. Like, are you judging them as like less than you, or are you just saying like, hey, this is how things are there, and that's pretty weird. Like, here's also some weird comparison. I don't know.
Right.
I think a lot of it depends on where you are coming from, and if you're coming from something with like a good, honest, thing, like you'll find out if you get backlash.
Yeah.
And if you do, you deal with it.
Right. Well, right. I mean, and that's what open mics are for.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just thinking like I've only really written 2 jokes about growing up in South America.
Yeah, getting mugged with the ice cream.
Getting mugged with the ice cream, which is not a positive representation. It's a true story.
Mm-hmm.
But that being the only thing I say in a set about growing up in
true.
Ecuador feels kind of disingenuous. Like wanting to be a thoughtful person, and I am talking about a country that I love deeply. So representing it in a positive light is important to me because I do want to find a way to share my love of the place while being able to talk about how fucking crazy it can be.
Which is hard to do because it's hard to be like Rodney Dangerfield didn't do a bunch of jokes about how much he loves his wife.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because that's just not the funny thing. But no, I think if it is bothering you, then I think that belies something that you for your own, mental well-being or whatever can work on.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe that's something I can find a way to address on stage in a funny way, because I don't want it to become a TED Talk, obviously.
Yeah.
But the only other joke I have about growing up in South America is about overthrowing the government. Yeah. And I do think I paint that in a positive light because it was a good thing they threw that guy out, and it would have been a good thing if we threw Trump out, I think. But, I don't know. It's something that's bothered me because I do want to be more honest about my personal experience at moving forward. But I don't want to. I don't ever want to do that in a way that paints like others who don't deserve it in a negative way.
Yeah.
And certainly not a country I love as much as Ecuador. And punching down as a white man, where I was a guest in that country for 7.5 years is super shitty. I don't want to do that. What are some of the, I guess moving forward, making this about my guest again,
yes.
What are a couple of the areas you'd like to move into comedically? Like, what are some things you haven't talked about before that you've been thinking about moving into?
I would say like politics on a very like real level, not like a her Jimmy Carter's old or haha,
yeah,
like not like oh, these are fun facts about them, but like
which, by the way, you're very good at, and I enjoy a lot.
Yeah. But like talking about like, hey, this is the way our system is set up, and like it's very fucked up in these ways, but like a funny way of doing that.
Yeah,
which isn't like that. That's I think that's really the thing is like finding a way to balance like trying to say something that I do think maybe people should hear, which sounds so like self-aggrandizing and douchey.
Right.
But just at least things that I think are important.
Yeah.
But making it palatable in a way that like I think it's still like they're getting a comedy show, not a lecture.
Right.
Because I have no interest in going up there and just like stating a bunch of facts and like bloviating and fucking haranguing people. Like I want to like still like obviously make it funny. If it's not funny, it's not. I need to find a different venue for that.
Right.
So really, it's trying to find that, and again so crowd work and life changing rhetoric.
Right.
Is also funny. Are the two things I'm trying to figure out right now. That's all.
Are you a Colin Quinn guy?
Not really. No.
No. I mean, because I feel like Colin Quinn in a lot of ways is funny in the same way that like I forgot his name now.
Don't say Bill Maher.
No,
Okay,
not
thank
no,
God.
no, no. I fucking hate
Thank
Bill.
fucking
Like
God.
I hate Bill Maher. No, he is Andy Kindler.
Okay.
Andy Kindler is funny because he is doing everything a comic's not supposed to do.
Mhm.
And in the same, Colin Quinn is kind of funny in the same way, but he's also talking about history and politics and stuff like that. He doesn't really take a stand, though, like on anything. He just kind of like presents information.
But I think you can present something in a way that you're like, hey guys, you get what I'm getting at. Here.
Right.
Like I've clearly painted a good guy and bad guy in this scenario.
Yeah.
Kind of situation. And that's kind of, and that's what I feel like the dipping into even more historical stuff, because I wasn't doing enough of that previously, is and like kind of digging into this more. I'm just trying to understand this stuff better so that I can talk about it better. Is kind of just where I'm at now, and like being able to because I feel like you truly understand something if you can relay it and be funny about it.
Yeah.
Like that's like a true mastery of like the comic.
Well, I think we're both guys that like kind of facts, like
interesting ones.
Interesting facts.
How much corn Iowa brings.
Right? No, but like I would say like you've written a lot of jokes with facts in them,
and I 100% looked those up. I really don't. Nothing drives me crazier than than trying to just like put something out there that I don't know. And I've axed many jokes because I'm like, oh, this actually isn't true.
Yeah, that's real frustrating. That's real frustrating for me too.
Yeah, but true life is so wild that like I don't need to make shit up. Like it's a fucking crazy planet we live on.
I will say I have started in the past year or so bending the truth more.
Yes.
Like there's one joke I wrote that was almost pure fabrication. I you've seen me do it, but the joke about the hair weave is almost all false. Like it's true,
much like the weave itself.
But it is true. I didn't find out what hair weaves were until embarrassingly late. But that's not how I found out. I found out by watching awkward conversations between middle-aged white ladies and their black coworkers,
oh God.
Which would also be a very funny joke from a more I would say if I were a better comic, I probably could have made that funny in and of itself, but like I'm not there yet. So I kind of crafted this fiction about finding out. But I don't think there's anything wrong with like concocting something that's fake.
Yeah.
But coming up with false information to begin with bothers me.
Well, it's like I guess there's a difference between like the spirit of something still being there and being true. Like, so you've heard my William Henry Harrison joke.
Yes,
about how he
which by the way I have mentioned on the show before. When you started it, I was like, this is a fun idea. Yeah. And I think like there were nights where it went really well and nights where it struggled, but it has become so good.
Yeah, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of in the last year.
Yeah, it's something that you stuck with long enough that you were able to build off of it, which going to so many open mics is a testament to growth. Is the ability to build something after you wrote it. Yeah. That and it is really good, man. I like it a lot.
No, so in the joke, William Henry Harrison gets cholera, dies of it, and then 2 presidents later, James K. Polk also dies of cholera. Next president, Zachary Taylor, dies of cholera. It's not 100% true that James K. Polk and Zachary Taylor actually died of a different poop-borne illness that you can only ingest. It was not cholera. It was like, it was
E. coli or something.
Typhoid. So it was like, cholera is like to stop you up.
Yeah.
Like you can't shit at all and you die. Like typhoid is like you can do nothing but shit.
Yeah.
and die kind of thing. So it's like, so they essentially die of essentially the same disease.
Opposite disease.
But you only get it from ingesting the fecal matter of somebody with that disease.
Right.
So it's like the spirit of it is the same, and I just found it to be less confusing than switching from cholera to typhoid.
Right.
Like midstream. So I just carry through with cholera.
Yeah. You know, is this on the tape?
Yes.
I think it would be really funny if you added like a disclaimer at the bottom during that joke. Actually, they died of typhoid. I kept it this way because it was confusing.
That's not terrible. Yeah, I do have. I'm working on subtitles for it.
Yeah.
How much longer do we have? Because I have to pee so bad.
No. We'll pause it. You can go pee, and then we'll finish.
Okay.
All right, and Caesar peed.
I did. I feel much better. It was.
Did in the big boy potty and everything.
It was a lot of pee.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been recording for an hour and a half. I feel like we could bring this, start bringing this in for a landing. Let's talk about business.
Yeah.
Which I specifically remember, like, I wanted to focus on this the first time we recorded because I thought it was important for the podcast as a whole. It was kind of one of the ideas I had when we started, so we did have kind of a long conversation about this.
I don't recall it at all.
9 months ago.
I was also drinking wine then. I remember I had several cups of wine. So.
But like, what are your like kind of goals for stand up long term?
Like financially,
yeah.
I would like to become a regular source of income. Like right now, I can make depending on the month, $100, $200 in a month, maybe,
right.
But it's not anything where I can regularly depend on it. For me, a lot of it's like, if I can make enough money doing comedy to not have another job, that's like, and then like keep my standard of living as it is now, maybe even slightly worse. I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't like, I think my goals have changed, especially with the pandemic having happened.
Mm-hmm.
Is at the beginning of the pandemic, like I was, on this straight roller coaster. I've been doing a ton of comedy over the last 4 or 5 years, and I was getting better, and I saw this. But like with the way things have just been completely decimated, I feel like everybody's been put a step back. That like I've had to reevaluate my financial goals for comedy.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's much less financial and more just like getting to do fun and interesting things is really where my head is at. And like that does generally involve getting paid more for it because you're getting to do this higher level stuff.
Right.
But yeah, it's really, it's because so much is in flux right now, and like with just our society in general. Like I don't like, I just think it's silly at this point to be like, oh, I'm going to make a living doing comedy when there's plenty of comics who 2 years ago were making a living and now are not and will not in the next couple of years.
Right. I mean, it's kind of I think it's an unspoken thing, or if it is spoken, it's spoken of in hushed terms, but like, it's going to take a minute to rebuild.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be trickle down economics for a little while. Where we were at in the Springs was, there were times where I was worried, maybe I wouldn't get to catch the wave, which would be fine, but like I don't do this, I want to get paid and I'd love to do this for a living, same as you. Yeah. But if it didn't happen, it wouldn't stop me from doing comedy.
Yeah.
But I felt like there was a wave
momentum for
building.
Sure. Absolutely.
And maybe it would be a small wave and a couple people would break. And hopefully they would be people that deserved it. And, hopefully it would be me. Probably not, but maybe, And
not if it was the people that deserved it.
Right. I'm not saying I'm one of the ones that deserved it, but if people who didn't deserve it got it,
I was mostly laughing for your listeners.
Yeah.
If it was just you and me, I would have been dead. But gotta
right. But
keep it light.
there I felt like there was something happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to take a couple years to get
Absolutely.
back to. I honestly do.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think which I think it's good that some people are going to be getting out of this, but I think because like so many of these small businesses are closing because we're bad at taking care of our people, that all these little clubs that people used to be able to get weekends at are going to be gone, which means these bigger comics are going to have to do smaller venues, which means people who are doing the smaller venues will then have to do smaller ones or not do anything at all. It's just it's gonna set everything back in a I mean, it already has in a pretty serious way.
Yeah.
So I just want to be the funniest comedian in the revolution now. At this point.
Right.
That's where I'm going to try to catch my way.
Yeah. I'm just saying, Canadian comics get grants from the government, Do you think that, I mean, because it's no secret I've been aiming towards some sort of diversification for a long time now between comedy, doing this, doing my writing. Do you think that's something you would focus on?
I would need to find another platform. Writing just for writing's sake is something that I probably could and maybe should get into, just because I've always been a big reader, and but I would always like struggle through essays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, and obviously I can form sentences well, and like for my thoughts in the written word fine, but it's just like that part doesn't come naturally to me and like express myself in the written word. But I would need to, in order for me to make it feel like it's worth it for anybody to like subscribe to my Patreon or something like that.
Right.
I would need to have like more diverse and like regular output. So yeah, I mean that's
you'd have to find your into something else. I mean, you're a great, like, you are actually very good at drawing. Like, there are things you're good at artistically other than comedy. But I understand, like, last time we talked, I think we talked a little bit about this, and you said that's something that kind of you just have to do when it strikes you.
Yeah, it's just like, that is not something that I view as like a monetary like pursuit at all for me. It's something that is just, it's purely just what I want. Like comedy, I would drag myself up and go do sets even when I do them because I knew it was like good for me. And like drawing is not that. It's never been that for me. It's very much just like, this is what I want to do right now. I'm going to do it. This, especially because it's like, for me, it's a splitting of my mind type thing. I like doing things. I like doing two things at once, where one thing takes up my like physical, like just like the, kind of automatic reactions type thing, which would be like drawing, and then something else that takes up like my like thinking brain. And so like, drawing has to fit in one of those things for me. It's not something that I can just like sit there in silence and do. I need to be listening to music or like a podcast, or really when I did it the most as an adult was like when I was working at a call center. So it was just like having rote, boring conversations with these people. So I would just like, I would need something to like entertain myself with, otherwise I'd go fucking insane. So that's what that became. And I still do that now. I actually just like re-upped on like a notepad and like pens and stuff like that, and I've been doodling a little bit just to, I don't know, explore that part of myself too. No, what I want to do, I've decided is, I discussed this with Alyssa. I would like to open a bed and breakfast that doubles as a record/bookstore. So you get a room in this bed and breakfast, all right, and then you can check out I'll have a whole bunch of records, a record player in there, and like books, blah blah blah. And then if you want on your way out, you really like this, you can buy it. Exactly. That honestly would like make me so happy. Because all I want to do is talk to people about like books I've read and music I've listened to, and like fuck around. You know what I mean? And that's really, that would make me so happy. So that's really the goal I'm working towards right now. Melissa has a great hospitality experience. If she can run that, I can run the other half, and like life would be beautiful.
That would be dope. I mean, I would love.
I feel like it's a good idea. I really genuinely feel like it's a good idea.
It does feel like
it's
a good idea. It's a
specific niche. I think it needs to be like a bigger town thing, because it can't be the only option. Because then, like, it needs to be something people are selecting for that reason.
Colorado Springs isn't quite bougie enough for it. it's like there's a lot of money in this town, but it's not bougie
It's
money.
more of a Denver idea.
Yeah, it's more of a Denver idea. I really do like it. Like I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think you two would be great at it.
Yeah.
I would get so tired of guests. I would
That's
get
why
so
I am just handling the books and music into
right.
this. I am
Yeah.
offloading all of that responsibility onto Alyssa. She's got the experience.
Brittany and I are both too introverted to do this. I mean, because we both like books and records also, but yeah, we couldn't do that aspect of it. No, I think that would be perfect for you guys. Yeah. And if you need somebody to run the open mic there on a Wednesday, give me a call. Offend your elderly guests with my dirty comedy. No, that would be a lot of fun. I
also set realistic adult goals.
Yeah. What have you done any research into like what it would take to make that happen?
No,
like
we're
initial
trying to buy
investment.
a house first. That's step one. Like that's a like we've made some money, we can like sock it away and then put that into that kind of situation.
Right.
That's a decade plus away.
Yeah, man, that whole buying a house thing, because we're in the same situation. It's daunting, and like it's frustrating because there's something that in theory is so attainable, but like there are, like anybody our age knows, there's so many stupid hurdles to it. Like we live in a town where property values just keep going up, and that's not changing anytime soon. I mean,
which is why we want to buy a house now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we live in one of the few recession-proof bubbles in the country.
Well, that's my one hesitation, is like nothing's recession-proof.
Nothing's recession-proof, but we have armor that most other places don't. Yeah. I don't think 2008 hit here nearly as bad as it did the rest of the country. I mean, they felt it, but having 4 military bases.
What if those Bernie Bros come in though, and then
slash
the military budget?
Oh yeah, then we're in trouble.
We actually would be like suffering.
Yes. Actually, that would.
I do think it would be good for the country, but we would suffer economic downturn in this city, for sure.
Like all of the political beliefs we have would be personally harmful for us in this town.
Yeah.
Actually, it might be good for us, but
it would
bad.
Be harmful for the town.
It would be bad for the town we live in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Clinton probably wrecked this place. All right, man. I'm trying to think of any more business questions, but I think it's time to start wrapping up.
Yeah, I'm not much of a businessman. I apologize.
Nobody. Look, I had Andrea on the show, who is really good about talking about what like it takes. If you haven't listened to the Andrea Stone episode, go listen to that. Yeah, she's great. And she had a lot of good insights, being somebody who booked event like a legitimate rock venue for so long. So she had a lot of good insights, but otherwise it's just fucking us stupid artists who don't know what we're doing. So
it's like it's like listening to children explain how like clouds work. You're like,
there's cumulus.
The rain gets scared, I guess, and doesn't want to fall down, and then it gets over its fight with gravity, and then rains.
There's the Nimbus 5000 clouds. Yeah. So, if people want to see what you do, what should they do?
I think about Portacan on Instagram. I think Portacan tweets. Let's vamp real quick while I look at my social media.
You can check me out at True Choker Ingram on Twitter. You can follow me on Facebook if you want.
Shut the fuck up. At Portacan tweets, PORTOCAN tweets TWEETS. I try to get too fancy with the double E's and double E's.
Yep.
Portacan tweets on Twitter as well. You can go through your points.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, you know the deal, guys. All my writings on multipleofmadness.com. Follow the podcast wherever you're listening. Rate, review, subscribe. Do it because one day I want to make money doing this, and you're laying the groundwork, folks.
Doing
And
a thankless job.
do it well. Yeah, so far, 2 5-star reviews on.
How many of them written by people whose last name isn't Ingram?
Probably one. I think after my episode with Ryan, I said, "Oh yeah, and if you guys want to rate and review, that would help." And Ryan's like, "I have iTunes on my phone right now."
Okay, so
yeah.
so a host and a guest.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Well, I haven't rated it, so I'm assuming the other one is my mom. But yeah,
Not even your wife.
she doesn't have iTunes.
Fair enough.
But yeah, if you're listening on iTunes, or even if you're not and you have iTunes, go rate and review. It would be very nice. But if you don't, I still think you're swell. All right, guys.
I don't.
Yeah, Caesar's judging you on my behalf.
All
All right, guys, go make stuff.